Hello and welcome to episode 34 of the XboxEra podcast. I'm joined as always by Figments and Shpeshal Ed.
G'day,
And it's been 2 weeks since we last got together, and finally we all know where we stand, kind of.
Yeah,
right.
We know enough.
We know enough to put together the pieces.
That's all that really matters, right?
Yeah, I guess you could argue that. Yes. So what have we got? We've got I think
we
the
have
biggest
3 new consoles launching this year.
4.
Yeah, no. Okay. Are we considering the Series X and Series S 2 different consoles or part of the same console family?
No, it's 2 different consoles there, definitely.
The PlayStation's launching 2 SKUs too.
Yeah, but SKU of a single box of a single platform is different than a completely different product, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's one thing.
It's one thing. So technically, 3 new product families are being launched this year. So we have PlayStation at $4.99 for the big boy box with the disc drive, and $3.99 for digital.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just to stop you there, they're both big boys.
Yeah, they're both big boys.
Ridiculously huge.
Actually, not too long ago, some photos, I don't know if they were intentionally revealed or leaked, showing how big it... I mean, look, most of us have known just how comically huge this thing is anyway.
Yeah.
But now we
Sony
have the official numbers.
Company.
Now that we have the official numbers that reveal just how comically huge this thing is. Like, I'm almost hoping that, so I got my pre-order in.
Nice.
I got a digital one because the discs were sold out, which, you know what, that brings me to a point. I gave Sony the benefit of the doubt on this one. So I was right. I said $3.99, $4.99, and people were laughing at me. And there was also VX1 in the Discord who's been on the $3.99 train for a long time. I jumped on a little bit later than he did.
Yep.
And I gave Sony the benefit of the doubt and said, no. It's not an $100 price difference for a disc drive. That's a very narrow, silly way to look at it. The $100 price difference has nothing to do with the hardware. The $100 price difference is because Sony wants you buying the digital version, and a $50 price difference isn't going to be enough to make you want to give up your disc drive. So you make it $100 because that's a bigger carrot. Turns out, I gave Sony too much benefit there. The $100 price difference is really just so they can say $3.99 and provide no stock of the digital version. Just so they can say they have a $400 console. But yeah, which is a bit, I don't know, whatever.
It's been a bit of a
roller coaster.
A bit of a poor show for PlayStation.
But they just came out and apologized for it too.
Yeah.
Anyway, before we go down on that, let's go back to talking about what we know so far about the consoles, both sides here, not just PlayStation, because we still have the prices for the Series X and the Series S.
Yeah.
$299 for the Series S.
Yep.
$499 for the Series X.
Yep.
And that is a huge price difference. But I mean, we also have to understand that the Series S is it is a 1440p 1080p console. And that is all it is.
Which we've
Are you
known
annoyed
for a while.
What's your take on it, guys? Do you think it's a good shout or a stupid idea?
What? Series S?
The Series S.
Oh, I still prefer it didn't exist personally.
Yeah, same.
I understand why it does. Completely get it.
Yeah.
Whatever, but if given the choice and it was solely my decision, I would have cut that thing's throat and just had Series X at $3.99 and been done.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Nick on this one.
Yeah, it's interesting in the UK, particularly among my peers and folks I know, the reaction was overwhelmingly positive because there were a number of people that said, you know, they were sitting there going, oh, this Series X is going to be expensive. And then this is dropped out of nowhere for them, from their perspective. And then they're suddenly like, okay, so I was dreading having to drop $1,000 on a console. And now, and get a 4K screen to keep up with everybody and blah blah. And then they're suddenly like, I don't need to do that. And I was like, no, you don't need to do any of that. You can play the same games. and they were like, okay, great, that's the one I'll get then.
Yeah.
And that person, that target demographic, is exactly why this machine exists.
Yeah. No, again,
it's a good shout.
I
from a
fully
business
understand why this thing exists, and I agree with the theory. I just personally prefer it did not.
Yeah.
And
now, from an enthusiast point of view,
for the most important hardware launch of the season, we have Oculus Quest 2 at 64 gigabytes at $299, 256 at $399.
Yeah, so I am finally getting into VR. So the Australian pricing on all these consoles is actually surprisingly good. The funny thing is, something I did note. So the way Microsoft has traditionally priced their consoles in Australia is they convert the dollar, and then they add the 10% GST that Australia has. That's how they've pretty much always done it. For the Series X, that's what they did. So I predicted $749, and that's what we got. Because I converted the dollar, added 10%, and it came to 753 Australian dollars. They're obviously not going to price it like that. $749, that's what we got. But then the Series S, I predicted $449, because that's what my method was. They decided to add a little bit of an Australia tax to it and sold it for $499.
The swines.
Which Microsoft's never done before. That's a Sony thing. But then Sony's actually done the right thing and done the conversion method. So Sony's just done what Microsoft normally do, which is convert the dollar, add the 10%. So the PS5 is $749, and then $599 for the digital, which is the one I got.
But with that, whichever system you go with this season, PlayStation, Xbox, Quest, if you just want VR and don't really care about much else.
Quest is so cheap in Australia. My brother sent me, because my brother has a Quest.
Yeah.
And he sent me a message saying, my God, look how cheap the Quest 2 is. And it's like $650 for the 256 gig. So I'm buying it. I am going to buy it.
Well, it's good to have you on the VR bandwagon.
Yeah.
Finally.
Sorry, Carl,
and they also announced at least we can say that the Oculus Quest 2 has a better launch lineup than either console right now.
Does it? What does it have? I don't know.
It's got multiplayer for Beat Saber.
It's got Medal of Honor coming later this year, the Respawn game. It's got Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, which is getting a Quest 2 launch. Nice. And it's going to be getting a new Splinter Cell game.
Oh, yeah.
Exclusive to VR. John's shaking his head because he really wants that on his Series X. But out of all three platforms or whatever, I think Oculus right now has the launch lineup beat on all of them.
I don't know. So, I just know that I'm getting one at that price, because the first Oculus Quest is quite expensive here. And like I said, you guys saw it. I posted a video in the Discord of me playing the Quest. I didn't mind it.
That was it was such an open secret that the Quest 2 would be coming out. We just didn't know it was coming out this year. Everyone just assumed it was going to be next year. Not because of COVID, but because of just it made more sense to people, like from financial reasons or whatever. But I mean, we got a close to 4K screen on it, 90 hertz refresh rate.
It's 2K per eye, isn't it? Isn't it 2K per eye?
It's 2K per eye. It's got a higher resolution than the Valve Index for $299.
Yeah, I'm getting the 256.
I've heard some bad things though. They've dropped some of the infrared sensors on the hand grips, so they're not as accurate as the Quest 1, which is a bad thing in my book. Yeah.
Why would they do
that? To save costs. There's a bunch of things they've done. There was one review I read, I think it was Ars Technica, that was just like, I don't want this headset. I want the good things about it, but none of the bad. And there were a lot of compromises to get to $299. The head strap's worse. The controllers are worse.
Yeah. I haven't seen that much I haven't seen that much said about the controllers, but it doesn't seem like people are saying they're less accurate. I think it's just they changed how the accuracy kind of works a little bit. Because it's no longer
reduced the number of sensors completely.
Yeah, because the buttons are no longer touch sensitive, but they still have a touch sensitive thumb rest on the controller face. So it's just one area now.
Well, now I'm not so sure I want to get it.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it will probably be great.
Even if the controllers are slightly less accurate, which we'll have to like see in practice, people need to get it in their hands and customers need to have reviews about it. But I think what matters more is that the performance is going to be way better in the games. Yeah. Games are going to look better. They're going to feel better. They're going to be way more immersive. Like they did comparisons between Saints and Sinners running on a Quest 1 and Saints and Sinners running on a Quest 2, and the level of detail you get in the Quest 2 version is insane. For a
more light bleed
headset.
In the Quest 2 than the Quest 1. I don't know. I'm not in any rush to pick one up.
I've already got mine pre-ordered, and I'm about to pre-order the Series X on Tuesday. So
I've got a busy end of the year coming up. So I've got enough stuff and new toys.
In more important news, how about that PlayStation conference? And everything is cross-gen now.
Yeah, cross-gen's okay now.
Well, okay. Let's do this blow by blow, right? So, the PlayStation 5 conference, the second one, the one that's just been and gone this week. Watching it, I was like, Sony really do know their audience and know how to put on a good show, right? Yep. They had some killer games shown, and while we're on the subject, Nick was right.
Yeah.
He called Final Fantasy XVI being exclusive.
So I went back to that episode with Charisma and to make sure what I had said. So I said that it was going to be, I think, at the Sony show, but obviously it ended up being the wrong Sony show. Instead of the June one, it ended up being this September one, whatever.
Yep.
And at the time I said there may be some exclusivity going on, which everyone doubted, but no. There was. Although it's still a little bit cloudy.
I think it's definitely timed, right? It's definitely going to come a year later.
I'm still not sure if it's permanent or timed.
But but on the same vein, I was told to make sure I bring you down a peg or two, lest you get too big-headed, Nick. So I just have to say Elden Ring, and we'll move on. But
that's going to be an albatross over Nick's head the whole time he's on this podcast.
So I did the show. It was really good. Spider-Man looked fantastic. Cross-gen though, not only possible on PlayStation 5. Just saying. And they had some real heavy hitters. Final Fantasy XVI obviously got the internet talking. Really solid show. Dropped the price at the end with that bombshell, $3.99. Well done, Sony. You smashed it for your audience. And then something happened.
Yeah, the show ended.
Something happened is that they suddenly forgot to put things in the conference, or put things in the conference they didn't mean to, like Demon's Souls coming to other platforms and PC. And they're like, no, it's not.
I actually saw the word other consoles. And I'm like, what?
Is it PS4?
I'm like, does that mean it's coming to Xbox? Like, what the hell's going on there?
Sony really doesn't want to leave that money on the table if it's coming to Xbox.
God, that was weird. And then
what else do we have?
Then everyone was asking, okay, so what's going on with backwards compatibility? So we got that PlayStation Plus collection, which was first party PS4 digital games being there on PS5. I don't think I saw Shadowfall there.
No,
annoying.
And then I think Jim Ryan came out on Twitter later that day saying the PlayStation Plus collection is like Game Pass, but better. And it's like, what? Huh?
Did he?
When did he say that? Did he say that?
I thought it was something along the lines. It was like the PlayStation. He compared the PlayStation Plus collection to Game Pass in some way to make the PlayStation Plus seem.
I think you're thinking of a tweet. Shu.
Oh, it was Shu. It was Shu.
It was some retweet of an article that's saying that it's kind of like Game Pass except not as good, and it was just a weird thing for him to retweet. I think.
Shu wants Game Pass on PlayStation. That's how I'm reading that.
Yeah. But no, they've said Game Pass isn't sustainable for the PlayStation genre of titles because they're tapes.
Yeah. Suddenly everyone cares about Sony's bank balance and not their own.
I know it's absolutely ridiculous. Like there's people on the Reset forum, which in that thread discussing how we can't do Game Pass because yada yada yada, and it's like they're like, oh, I agree with this because Sony's money depends entirely on these first party exclusives. And if they were all in a subscription service, then how would they make their money back? It's like, what are you even talking about?
They'd make it back by having lots of subscribers.
Are you investors? Are you investors of Sony? Why do you care about the bottom line of $1 billion corporation? I'm confused.
I don't get it.
It is weird. It's a weird. It's a weird mentality to have.
They've got a lot of PS Plus subscribers. Even if they got a quarter of those on a PlayStation, so if they had first party titles on PS Now, even if they just got a quarter of their PS Plus subscribers over to PS Now, that would be a lot of money.
Yeah,
like a lot of money.
An insane amount of money.
Like, I don't understand this idea. Like, supposedly PlayStation has the content and Xbox doesn't. So, theoretically, they should be able to get way more subscribers.
There's people still parading around the idea that, if Sony ever introduced a Game Pass like model, then all of their games would be microtransaction riddled time farms, time sinks. It's like, what are you even talking about? Where are those games like that you keep thinking are happening in Game Pass? Because we've gotten multiple like single player only, no microtransactions, no nothing, like dedicated single player experience games. Like Wasteland 3, is mostly single player. You can even play the freaking story mode in co-op.
Like, with Game Pass, do people not understand that you can still buy your games and own them?
No,
I think they don't. They forget that point.
I don't understand.
They forget that it's choice,
I've
not
bought
obligatory.
games that are on Game Pass. So the beauty of Game Pass is that, so with Game Pass, you can satisfy both parties. You can satisfy the FOMO group, which is I have to be there day one with this new game. But you can also satisfy the people that like to wait for sale. So I'm now old enough to not worry about FOMO. So Game Pass is great because I can still play the new games day one, but then I just buy them when they're on like deep discount 6 months later.
It's worth saying though as well, with Game Pass you get a 20% or something discount
You
anyway.
get the discount anyway. So I bought Devil May Cry 5 for like $20, and now it's coming off Game Pass anyway. So like I don't understand. Like it's the best of both worlds. So if PlayStation put their first party games on there, people can still buy those games. So as soon as God of War...
No, but you don't understand. You don't understand. If they do this, Nick, your favorite Killzone franchise will become a Destiny clone. Obviously. Just by the virtue of every first-party Sony game being on PS
everyone?
Now.
I've got news for you. Killzone Shadowfall already had microtransactions. Like, it's
they were definitely trying.
You can buy emotes for it. You can buy skins for your owl. You can do it already had that back in 2013. Like, Rise, Son of Rome, has literal mobile-style microtransactions where you can buy gold to upgrade stuff. And that was back in 2013. Game Pass hasn't affected that. Like, this was already a thing before Game Pass came along. See, the irony is, Microsoft has started Game Pass, but the Game Pass model would actually suit Sony more because of their content. That's the irony of it. So Microsoft's got the model, which is a good model if you have the content to support it.
But then so someone's got someone in that thread also like compared Sony to HBO and Microsoft to Netflix, and
Netflix bigger?
going off that comparison, like HBO is charging out the butt for their subscription service when Netflix is still like, for a basic 1080p subscription, you're only paying like what, $9 a month?
Yeah, $10.
Yeah, $10. So like, but HBO base subscription $15,
and that's fine. But that's the thing. Yeah. Like I don't get it. Like, and Sony can turn around and charge a little bit more and say, well, our content's better. And guess what, man? Like, all these people that are complaining, they'll all subscribe to it. Like, and then they'll claim Sony
invented it and call it the greatest idea ever.
Like, I don't understand the issue. If anything, Game Pass would suit Sony more because they allegedly have the top games to push it and get people subscribing. So I just, it's weird. It makes no sense to me.
I know people worry about Sony's bottom line, but there is one thing they have done to increase their profits for the end of this quarter, and that's a hike in pricing on all of their first-party titles. And over here in UK, it's £70 a game now. In Euroland, in mainland Europe, it's €80 a game.
What do you mean? In Australia, it's 125. It's $125. It's like it's 1996 all over again. Like,
that's disgusting.
You know what?
It
would be hypocritical of me to rip on Sony for upping the price of games, because I've always said that I think game prices should increase because the budgets have blown out of control.
I agree.
Development costs are just huge. The quality has upped. I've got no issue with a price bump, even if it's like $10. Why did Australia cop $40? Like, Jesus.
That's madness.
Like right now, when a PS4 game or Xbox game comes out, it's in depending on the game, anywhere from $70 to $90. That's what we get. Anywhere from 70 to 90.
To be fair here, I think Microsoft is also going to do a price hike for all their next-gen games too.
Yeah, anyone loading it up over...
At least all those games are on Game Pass for $10 a month.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't care if they price hike the box version of the game.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pay that price because I already get those
Game
games.
Pass, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's right. That's why, yeah.
Any Xbox fans lauding it up on, fighting the good fight on Twitter right now, or whatever the hell you might be doing, lauding it up about the price hike, you might want to just tone it down a bit, because I fully expect that to sneak out and be price increased across the board.
The Xbox Series X version of Halo Infinite, actually, I don't even think it's just going to be the Series X, the next-gen version of Halo Infinite. I think it's going to be one box version for $70 across all Xbox platforms. Straight up. I don't think there's going to be a special upgraded version.
If they are going to up the price, they're obviously holding on to that till later.
Yeah. But they haven't upped the price of any of their pads, whereas I think Sony's pads are more expensive now for the PlayStation 5.
I mean, Xbox controllers are expensive already, so... I mean, 65 for the regular controllers. Then you have the special editions, which are like $10 more. Yeah. And then you have the Elite controllers, which are like $100 more. Sony's might be more expensive, but I mean, Xbox's controllers are already expensive as hell. Yeah, and they cover all the price ranges there. The premium Elite to bargain bin.
Bog standard.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they let you use your old controllers at least.
Yeah. At least that's the case.
I think that's one of the weirdest things about all of this is that, all of those quotes about how, we believe in generations. The reason you can't use a DS4 on your PlayStation 5 is because, we're building the games to take advantage of this and it wouldn't work. And then it's like, well, yeah, it would, right? Because, of course it would. Because they're coming to the same platform now.
Right. So what happens now? So what happens to the PS4 version? What happens to the PS4 version of Horizon Forbidden West, because they don't have the adaptive triggers and they don't have all the haptics? So what happens?
It just doesn't have those particular features. That's what is so weird about all of this. It was like a marketing game. And I mean, and I think we've discussed this previously, but on the other side of that, Microsoft initially came out and said cross-gen. And, any realistic person that's bought a console at the beginning of a new generation knows that it's always cross-gen for 1 to 2 years anyway, because you're not going to give up your previous install base at the drop of a hat. You have to keep your clients, your customers satisfied. But Microsoft were the ones that came out and said, yeah, we're going to do this. But then when the July showcase rolled around, suddenly Everwild isn't coming to Xbox One. Avowed isn't coming to Xbox One.
I reckon Sony
Hellblade 2 isn't
it.
coming to Xbox One. It's
a weird...
It's just weird. I don't know. It's bizarre, but it has been an amusing week watching lots of people eat plenty of crow about all of this kind of stuff. Yeah, and obviously, now we know we've got all of the consoles. We know what they are. We know when they're coming out. Interestingly, Microsoft have nailed doing a worldwide release, more or less 40 countries, I think, or 37.
And now it's Sony that's delayed
And
the
Sony that's tier 2'd Europe.
It just keeps flipping. Everything just keeps flipping. From
It's
last
2013
generation,
reverse
it's bizarre.
continued.
It is. I mean, I don't think the sales are going to flip, but like everything outside of that, just it's so weird how it's all just completely reversed. It's so strange.
Yeah, it really is. And we've seen more of the box now as well. Oh my god, that thing is ugly and enormous.
We talked about this before. Yeah, and it looks like. So a lot of people were asking about the expansion slot and whatever. So it looks like Sony's going to follow a similar approach to what they've always done, or what they did with the PS4, but with the dash of the Xbox. So if you want to upgrade that hard drive on the PlayStation, you will have, it's an internal only. So you're going to have to upgrade the internal, just like you did on PS3, just like you did on PS4. On PS4, they obviously updated it to allow for an external hard drive to be plugged in.
Yeah.
But of course, USB 3.2 is not fast enough.
Correct.
So I think the way it's going to work on PlayStation 5 will be,
Lots
if you
of
want to
hot
run the
swapping.
games, you have to update the internal drive. But you can use an external USB to store games, just like on Series X.
Yeah, just transfer them when you want to play them.
Yeah, where Microsoft obviously...
Still...
Well, as far as we know, Microsoft's not providing the option to update the internal. You have to buy one of the cards.
Yeah.
I still have this weird sneaking suspicion that you're going to be able to update the internal drive for some reason, but because that back looks very removable on the Series X. It looks very, very removable, which makes me think, why are they letting us remove that back? I don't know.
Be nice.
Easy cleaning. I don't know.
Oh, for me, that's great, yeah, because I clean my consoles all the time, so I'm happy with that if that's all it is.
Honestly, more consoles should be like that too. If it is for easy cleaning, being able to open that quickly just to get a can of air and get all the dust out,
and just get it in, yeah. Because I bought a secondhand PS4 Pro after I sold my God of War one, and this guy is clearly not like me. And this console was, it was filthy. It took literal hours just to get it to an acceptable standard. It was so bad. The dust that gets into these things in spots you would not think.
It's ridiculous.
Wow.
Well, so...
And so many vents. It's all vents. The whole console is vents.
Yeah.
It's just vents. The whole back is a vent, and along the top is a vent, and the front, it's just vents everywhere.
I have the sneaky suspicion that thing's still going to be bloody loud.
It better not be. Nah, sorry. If it's going to be that goddamn big, and it's going to have that much ventilation, I need to be able to hear a mouse fart in my game room when I'm playing that console. That is garbage. I don't want to hear a peep out of that thing. No.
Yeah, I think you're going to be disappointed.
Nick's already got a PS4 Pro. He knows what a jet engine taking off sounds like.
Yeah, well, I've got a Dreamcast as well, and I've got a Wii U. I know what a loud console sounds like. I'm sorry. If you're going to make it that big, and you're going to put that much ventilation on it, and you're going to have all this expensive cooling and blah, 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 it should be the quietest console in history. Otherwise, what was the point?
Yeah. Well,
come on.
We could probably theorize on that a bit, but we won't.
Come on.
Here's an interesting question for you guys. So how are you guys going to buy... I'm presuming you're going to get the Series X at launch. How are you guys going to buy your consoles? Are you going to buy them outright? Are you going to do all access?
No. I'm doing outright. I've got the money, so I'm doing outright.
What about you, Figments?
I'm sorry, repeat the question.
Are you going to buy the console outright, or are you going to do all access and just pay $20-30 a month?
Outright. I'm not going to pay for all access. Are you kidding me?
Why?
No.
So it's actually cheaper over time, but
I don't care. I'd rather own my console day one.
Fair enough. I was just curious.
But you will own it. No one's going to come take it off you.
Unless you don't pay.
I don't want to pay monthly for a console.
Oh, look, I'm buying it anyway. EB's got good trade-in deals here, so like I paid $200 for this Pro. EB's going to give me $300 for it. Nice. And I've still got a voucher left over from my birthday. So I'm getting a PS5 digital for 150 Australian. So it's like,
That's
why
all right.
wouldn't I? Don't get me wrong.
Makes sense.
The temptation to flip it has crossed my mind. Like the thought
Yeah,
of flipping
people
it
are
has crossed my mind
keen.
because some people are already getting insane money on eBay for their PS5 pre-orders.
Yeah,
So it's like,
gross.
I'm paying $150 for it, but I could probably sell it on eBay for $1,000, and then buy another one straight after that.
Speaking of pre-orders, didn't they say we'll give you plenty of
Oh
notice?
yeah, we'll give you plenty of notice. We'll let you know.
And then suddenly Jeff Keighley was making the announce for them on Twitter.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can pre-order it now.
We'll give you plenty of notice.
What were they thinking? Like,
Nothing. They weren't thinking.
That's
the big conundrum.
But I think I've got a feeling. I think the retailers may have screwed them a bit.
yeah.
I think. Like, I believe the pre-orders were meant to go live like a day later, 24 hours later or something. And then a bunch of retailers just like, oh, bugger that. I'm getting these pre-orders in now so that we can be first and get the most.
Yeah.
So it turned into a bit of a mess, that one. Which is
was a
unfortunate.
bit.
But
At least they apologised for it.
Most people got their pre-orders in. But it just goes to show you, see? Like, look at everything they've done wrong, and yet the console's still sold out and pre-ordered like crazy. So,
yeah. I'm just glad. I'm not glad because it hasn't happened yet. I'm hopeful that Xbox's launch for the pre-orders isn't the same crap. Honestly, what I'm still worried about is that scalpers are going to use their bots like they did with the NVIDIA graphics cards, the new ones that just came out, and buy up all the stock and then sell them on eBay.
I'm not sure the fervor for the Xbox pre-orders will quite match Sony's.
No.
I suppose.
I'm not saying they won't sell out. They probably will still sell out of pre-order allocation, just at a slower pace.
Yeah.
That's all. And I think it depends which way they go, which begs the question, like, are they going to put more S's out there? Like, so launch is your early adopter hardcore gamer. Are Microsoft going to make the same mistake again they did with Xbox One, where they chased the casual market at the start? Are they going to make that same mistake again and push the S more? Or are they going to go with more X's?
I don't know, honestly.
What Xbox Triple X? What? What's going on? I'm sorry.
No,
Can you
saying,
repeat?
like, with the pre-orders, with the pre-order allocation, are Microsoft going to push the S or the X? Like,
they'll probably start
launch-
pushing the S, to be honest.
But they shouldn't,
I think-
because the hardcore are who buy early, and the hardcore aren't buying the S. They're buying the X.
But the $300 is great for people who want to get a new console this Christmas.
Yeah,
And
I'm
most
buying
people
both.
don't have jobs in this country right now. So
Yeah, I'm going to get both at launch.
I don't know. You say that, and yet the $399 and $499 PS5s are sold out. So, not sure if that reason.
those are
holds true.
that's Sony fanboys, okay? Like they'll buy.
They're still sold out. There's still enough of them to sell out the pre-order.
They'll buy cheese if it was rubbed off the pant leg of Jim Ryan, okay?
But the point is, there was still enough of them to sell out the pre-order allocation.
Yeah,
And that's at $399 and $499. So that's why
True.
I wonder how much of this,
I think
how much of
you got to bear in
this
mind.
$299 going to actually be.
Yeah, I think Microsoft they've been in production, despite all the concerning tweets and all that sort of stuff from industry insiders. Microsoft's been in production for the console and been way ahead since like June, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of COVID, they've eaten up a lot of production facilities. I think they're going to have plenty of stock. And, when it comes around to Christmas and if PlayStation are scarce, grandma will be looking through the store shelves, and if she can discern between all the different versions of Xbox, she might pick up little Timmy an Xbox Series S to play Fortnite on.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I don't know. I still
Who
think
knows?
I'm hoping they're smart enough to know that the X should be the leader in terms of what they make initially.
Yeah, I agree.
Surely they understand that the casual market that will like a $299 console aren't going to be their launch day to buy a $299 console. I don't know. We'll see. Casuals aren't the ones clamoring for a new generation. The hardcore are. The casuals right now are fine with their 1Ss, and they're fine with their base PS4s. They're not sitting there saying, "Oh man, these Jaguar CPUs are really holding things back. I wish I had a new console." They're not there for November. We are.
No.
And we aren't buying S's. We're buying X's. Some of us may buy S's as spares, whatever, but we're buying X's. So it's going to be telling to see what Microsoft pushes, because I worry that if they push the S ahead of the X, they haven't learned a lot from 2013. But
yeah. It's another interesting note, and I think it's worth talking about. Microsoft now have more next-gen exclusives, like next-gen only.
In terms of what's been announced, yes.
Yeah. Than Sony do.
Yeah. In terms of what's been announced.
In terms of what's been announced, but I have to say, looking on it face value, they've dropped the ball. I think Halo Infinite being delayed definitely was a big painful moment for Microsoft. And Sony's launch lineup, it's a big side campaign for Spider-Man. You don't get, that was interesting as well. If you bought the original Spider-Man on PS4, you don't get the PS5 version. You have to pay for it.
I can't even remember. They may have even clarified that now, and maybe you do. No, it's so
you definitely.
I don't know. You know what? Come November 12, I'll find out. I've got Spider-Man digitally on PS4.
If you want to play the PS4 version, I think you can play it, but you won't get all the bells and whistles upgrades.
For $150, I'll just use it as an ugly, oversized PS4. Whatever. It's $150, man. I honestly, after seeing the launch lineup, I don't need a PS5 day one. Same way I don't really need a Series X. I've said for ages, I want the Series X for the current gen boost. I don't even care about new games. The thing is, I don't know if the PS5 is going to really boost anything. We'll get better load times, which is good. But for $150, it's a big, ugly PS4.
Have we mentioned how it's what $399, $499, and unlike Xbox, the external storage solution isn't proprietary, but none of the SSDs that would be compatible are yet made available.
They don't exist.
Yeah.
It's going to be a while. It's going to be a while before you can go out to a store and buy an SSD that's approved for the PS5. And even when that happens, it ain't going to be cheap.
I fully expect people to be walking into a Best Buy here in the States, grabbing some random third-party SSD off the shelf, like M.2 SSD off the shelves, and asking on the forums 2 hours later, why can't I install this in my PlayStation 5? Without knowing exactly what the heck they're talking about, because Sony hasn't really telegraphed all that well it's specific drives that we're allowing. It's third-party drives,
Sony hasn't really addressed that internal drive situation at all in terms of upgrade.
Do we know it's going to be 1 terabyte? We know it's going to be 1 terabyte, right?
It's 812. It's 825.
825.
825 gigabytes?
Which means
minus whatever the operating system
Which means usable could be as low as 650.
So then what? That's such an odd number. What? Why not just put a terabyte in there? It's only an extra 200 gigs.
It is very highly customized. Maybe that extra 175 gig push the cost too high. I don't know.
399 and 449.
And people aren't really talking about this either. But you know how the SSD is supposed to be like a secondary cache for the RAM on the PS5 and the Series X too. But in part of their whole speedy architecture thing, the one where the PS5 is so fast it can cure cancer. Yeah, that whatever. But anyway. there's some level of I think if I remember right, there's some level of caching going on at the SSD level. So how much of that space is reserved for the caching layer?
But it's not just that. Like everyone keeps going, oh, it's not going to be like 200 gig for the OS. No, it's not. But that's not the only thing they're reserving space for. Like, my assumption is you'd need to reserve some space for suspend resume.
Does PS5 even have suspend resume?
It does.
No, it has. Of course
it hasn't been advertised or mentioned.
Again, no.
Well,
they haven't shown the UI yet. I actually thought they were going to go show the UI at this recent show. I thought that's where we were going to get at least a sneak peek. Again, the things I'm hearing about the UI sound actually quite cool. If it's all true and it all comes to light. But no, they'll definitely have suspend resume. But my thing is, they're not. Yeah, it's weird that they're not saying much about that hard drive situation. Like, it's not my guess is that if it's 825, I'm worried we're only going to have about 650 usable, because it's not just the OS; it's saving rooms for suspend resume. There's a game on there, Astro's Playroom, that game / demo. There's other stuff they need to reserve space for, and Sony have been pretty bad about updates on their consoles. Like, people complain all the time that they've got 100 gig of space on their hard drive, but yet the console complains that there's not enough space to do the update, and the update's only like small. So Sony clearly reserves a lot of space on their drive for stuff. So if it's only 825, I'm saying we could be as low as 650 usable. I hope it's not, but it could be as low as 650 usable. Like, that's
worrying.
I mean, even like the Xbox One X, it's a terabyte, right? But the usable's only like 780. Like, you lose like 220 gig.
That's also a consequence of the way. Okay, I'm going to get into some weird nerd tech talk here, but NTFS, which is the format for Microsoft. Windows and Xbox, all those drives, counts gigabytes differently than Unix systems. Unix systems are more precise. NTFS does this weird thing where like a terabyte is actually like 800, 900 gigabytes. It's some weird
No. NTFS, a terabyte is 1012 gig.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And equally, I think it always adds Unix, 12 or something like that.
I know.
It's 1024. Excuse me, 1024.
Are you sure it's not 924?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Because when I open up a 1 terabyte external drive, I only see about 930, 940 gigs.
Yeah.
Of a clear drive too.
It should be in 1024, because 1024 kilobytes is
a megabyte,
like a megabyte and so on.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's something like that.
I know the conversion is 1024, but I'm talking specifically the way it counts those bytes. I think NTFS is just weird. But anyway, the point being, it might be lower, might be 700, might be 800, but a lot of that's probably due to the way NTFS counts gigabytes.
Yeah, probably.
And not actual space being taken up, you know?
Speaking of the UI, I actually got my Series X. I don't have one of those yet. My Xbox One X got an update, and I've got the new UI.
Are you on Insiders?
Yeah, and I have to admit, all right, I like this. I like this a lot.
Have you tested USB headsets?
No, I haven't yet.
If you could,
this worked. I plugged it into my pad, and I swear it never used to work. This is a PC headset, and I used this cable.
Is it a 2.5 cable?
It's a 3.5mm jack to the pad, and then a weird version of USB to the headset, and it worked. It didn't sound like it was on, but then suddenly I was getting audio, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's cool. I'm glad that works now."
That seems like something that's part of your headset, though. Do you have a dongle with your headset, or do you plug in with Bluetooth?
No, my headset has a dongle that goes into the back of my PC. That wasn't plugged into the Xbox One X at the time.
If you could try plugging in that dongle to your Xbox and it works, let me know. Because then that means I should probably be on the Insider build, because they finally added the generic USB headset support.
Yeah, but it's really slick. All the personalization stuff's taken a real boost. It's really fast. The new store, finally, like, it's so much better to use, so much better to get around. Like they've really done well. I'm a little bit bummed that I got to try it out before I got a Series X home because, part of a new console fun for me is the new look and stuff. So I was a bit like, but yeah, it's definitely going to be nice to use and very, very slick. So it should be good. It should be good. But yeah, so it's been a weird week, and I'm sure overall PlayStation fans out there are finally happy to know when, where, how, and what. Mostly, even if it was a little bit muddy in the end. And to be honest, I'm just glad that this whole weird, elongated E3 drips and drabs is over. I'm not expecting Microsoft, because I still think they've got a glaring problem with actually showing off gameplay on the Series X itself. I think that is still a big, weird... I could say, well, it's just going to look like a PC version, so I don't care. But, it just strikes me as odd that none of their trailers have said this is gameplay captured on a Series X. Why not?
I mean,
because now all those games are coming to PC, so they're going to use the best platform available, and it's not a Series X.
Yeah, but they're not trying to sell a PC right now. They're trying to sell the console.
Well, I was going to say we could have part of the reason for that. I mean, Digital Foundry did a video just very, very recently talking about everything that's been going on, and they mentioned that they had heard or been told by some devs that they're having a few issues with the development kit, the Xbox development kit now, because it takes so many platforms. SDK. Yeah, because it takes so many platforms into account now.
I swear I've seen a developer also tweet something along the lines of, it's really difficult to record footage from Series X at the moment. And that might be another reason as to why we've not seen any. It's just a little bit of a frustration for me. Fundamentally, the technology is there that I know it's going to be equal to playing on a fairly...
That seems like a weird
PC.
thing. That seems like a weird thing.
It does seem like a weird thing.
What, you can't just get a 4K Elgato, strap it to the HDMI out and get the game going? What do you mean? What do you mean you can't capture gameplay easily off the box? Just get something in between the HDMI signal and the TV. Everyone else does that.
Yeah, it is really, really strange. So I'm not sure where that comes from, but November 10th for Series X and Series S. I've got no PTO left. I have no time off left, and I really want time off for that. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do yet. Maybe, get ill or something. There's plenty of pandemic excuses to use. Yeah, maybe I'll take unpaid time off. I don't know. I'll think of something. Game Pass launched, which is great. So, yay, Game Pass. That's out there now in the wild. I used it the other night.
Oh, that you mean xCloud?
Of course I mean xCloud. Game Pass launched.
I'm thinking to myself, Game Pass? I'm like, what have
Damn
I
it, Sick. What are you talking about?
Oh, and speaking of xCloud launching, Phil put out a tweet indicating that it's finally coming to Australia.
Yes, I'm sure you're happy as well about that. Jesus. 2021.
Yeah, next year sometime. I'm on iOS anyway, but at least I'll be able to use even my Surface as an xCloud device. But the only part I find weird is I can't, as much as Apple drainers. My thing is, you can't put the blame solely on Apple here. So, for example, Sony has the Remote Play app on iOS, where I can stream my console to my phone. So, Sony aren't requiring that one to have games, paid for separately or anything like that. Why can't Microsoft, at the very minimum for the time being, to hold iOS users over, why not at least get the Remote Play app onto iOS? Because that's the one I actually care about more. I actually don't really care about xCloud that much. I care more about the console streaming. I just want to stream my actual console wherever I go, just like I can with PlayStation. Problem with PlayStation is it's only on Wi-Fi. So my phone has to be on Wi-Fi, which is kind of annoying given that Australia's mobile network is so much better than their fixed line network. So it seems crazy that Sony would rather have you on Wi-Fi than on 4G or 5G. It's bizarre, but
I think it's something to do with because didn't they tried to offer some sort of olive branch to Microsoft, Apple did, by saying, oh yeah, if you get every game tested.
Yeah, that's right. Something like that.
Which is stupid.
But again, I just find I still don't understand the excuse for remote play. Why not at least get the
Microsoft, from their perspective, that's asking them to invest a bunch of additional resources, because the whole point of the Game Pass app is to be
that you
the
don't
one-stop.
need roleplay.
You're playing off to be the one-stop shop. You can buy your games, you can play your games, you can stream your games. That's it. It's all there in one app. And by doing that, you're asking them to diverge their builds and create a separate app that is just for iOS, that just does this one thing. So? And yeah, I get it from a business point of view. Maybe they should, to tide over and keep their iOS customers happy to a degree. But at the same time, you know, if I were Microsoft, I'd be like, God damn it, Apple.
But all you have to do is keep the existing app there and just remove the functionality of Game Pass streaming, of xCloud streaming. Yeah. That's all you got to do.
I don't know.
You just got to modify the existing app. Like, I don't know.
It is odd.
To me, it just reeks of weird excuses, like the console streaming one. Again, I fully understand the xCloud one, and Apple are being jerk-offs on that one. But I failed to see the reason for the console streaming. That
honestly, like, even the buying games thing, like, I can kind of see where Apple's coming from, asking, and I know this means nothing because, you know, I like Apple products, but at the same time, like, I can kind of see where they're sort of coming from with the whole, okay, we'll let you make the app and let users buy games through it, but we need to rate everything, you know? Because you are still technically making a separate store. Just because the games aren't on iOS doesn't mean it's not a separate store and that it has its own, like, rules it has to abide by, you know?
But I reckon the issue goes deeper than that.
And even stuff like Netflix, right? Netflix is allowed on the platform because you're not buying an individual movie off of Netflix.
No, but if you want to buy the subscription off of Netflix,
if you want to buy the subscription, you have to. No, you can't even do that because Netflix routes everyone who wants to subscribe in the app to their online portal.
Wow, good for them.
So Netflix doesn't pay the 30%. But what I'm saying is, like, it's not unfeasible for Microsoft to release an iOS-specific version of the Game Pass app that doesn't have the ability to buy games, but lets you stream games you've already bought.
Yeah,
or even lets you stream your Game Pass subscription. You know,
I think that just goes back to divulging builds and things like that. They just don't want to do it. Plus, it's a little bit of pressure corporate-wise on Apple to stop being douchebags in that front.
I don't know. A lot of this stuff. Every time I hear a different problem about this, I keep thinking there's ways around it that I don't understand why they're not pursuing. So even the whole store thing. Okay, so right now you can buy games for your Xbox via the Xbox app. You can buy games for your PlayStation via the PlayStation app. So even if the streaming has to then be done via a separate app, I mean, because I remember I used to always wonder why Sony had 4 separate apps rather than one. So they've got the main PlayStation app, the second screen app, the remote play app, and the messages app. So they've got 4 separate PlayStation apps. And I used to think, why the hell would they do that? Starting to get a good idea of why.
That's a lot of apps.
Yeah, I'm starting to get an idea of why. And that's what I mean. Like, why don't Microsoft just bite the bullet and use the loophole of creating separate apps to do everything? I don't know.
Who knows? Maybe they will.
It just seems a bit weird to me.
And there's a whole other discussion about that too. So,
changing subject somewhat. XboxEra as a team celebrated a wonderful little milestone earlier this week with 1 million page views on XboxEra. which is pretty awesome. 1 million unique page views on our site, on our platform. Obviously, a lot of that has been due to the recent launch of the XboxEra Forums, which has been huge. And when I mentioned the XboxEra Forums, we had a little visitor pop in out of nowhere and just reply to one of our users in the PlayStation 5
in the PS5 thread of all threads.
Funnily enough. And who was that? Who was that person, Ed? Who was it that just posted out of the blue?
Yeah, Phil. Phil just...
Phil himself.
Out of nowhere. I mean, I woke up in the morning and I can't remember. I think I had a few tags on my Discord saying, he's just posted out of nowhere. He's just like that, just replied to someone. And again, I couldn't believe it. I went searching for it and I thought, of all the threads for him to post in, he posted in the PlayStation 5 Showcase thread. I was like, oh god, that's so funny. But
it was. But it was nice to read, and it's cool that he is genuinely lurking.
Yeah, it's good that he definitely lurks.
Yeah, it's weird as an admin. We can see everything. So yeah, that was a really cool moment this week. So lots of back clapping and hooing for the XboxEra folks.
Yeah.
It's been a busy month because of a lot of stuff from Microsoft First Party as well in August, pumping out reviews. And it's interesting as well, as we've started to lean more into that content, we're getting codes and being asked to make videos and do things for lots and lots of indie developers now, which is really, really nice. We can't always get to every single one because we are not doing this like full time. Like we are all trying to juggle this as part of our real lives. But it's really humbling to kind of be given that responsibility. And our community is just so good at the moment. Like the forums are so nice to read through and visit. Not echo chambery. Just a good little community right now. Hope it stays that way. Fingers crossed. It won't. Yeah, it might get invaded. But we're pretty strict, and part of our moderation tools, if you're unaware, is the community to a degree can self-moderate. So if a bunch of folks flag a post, the post will automatically get removed without any moderator having to step in, so that it stops that constant regurgitation in the conversation of people quoting it and dogpiling and all of that nonsense. It just goes away, and we can go off and sort it out in the background, which is great. It's working quite well at the moment. So yeah, at the moment we're keeping an eye on things. It is running a little hot, that server. A few people have noticed that it's definitely getting hammered at times, but it's held up. So we're keeping an eye on it.
To keep the current theme of the timestamps being a complete effing mess with this episode. We were talking about the Series S earlier, and you know the one point of confusion that Microsoft did have with the Series S was around backwards compatibility. You know, a lot of people were expecting the One X enhancements on the Series S, and then it sounded like there was going to be no enhancements, and then people were getting very upset despite the fact that it's not a console they're interested in. And now they've come out and actually clarified that no, while there won't be the One X enhancements, there will be a bunch of other enhancements. Like running OG games at 1440 and 360 games at double the resolution, and they'll be able to pump up the frame rate, I think. And turns out it's actually not a bad little box for backwards compatibility.
Yeah,
it should the crux.
Performing admirably. I think the biggest reason that you're not going to get Xbox One X versions of BC is the RAM difference in the consoles. You know, it is what it is. But from what I read on Digital Foundry and the interviews that they did, we would be looking at smoother frame rates in general, comparatively to the One X.
Well, the One X was still bound by that 2012
Jaguar CPU.
laptop CPU. So
absolutely.
The funny thing is, like, I think history will look back on the One X quite favorably as a piece of technology. Like, what they were able to do while still tied down by that CPU is quite unbelievable when you think about it. Like,
I think so.
That CPU is allegedly not capable of much at all, and yet a lot of new games are coming out with performance modes where they run at 60, which is supposedly a CPU-bound function. Task, whatever, So it's kind of amazing that, you know, you're getting games that even have those performance modes given the CPU. Like, it's
definitely going to be an interesting generation. Coming up.
I don't know. I have this feeling that time will look back on the One X and it will probably be seen as one of the most advanced consoles in terms of its.
It was such a great console.
Alongside the original Xbox, which was literally just a high-end PC freaking crammed into a case. Like, it was just.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that they sold the original Xbox for $299. No wonder they lost billions. Like,
yeah.
Oh my god.
I mean, at the time it launched, like, wasn't the PlayStation 2 like around $199, $249?
I thought the PlayStation 2 was $299 as well.
No, at the time of the launch of the Xbox.
I don't know.
If they had a price drop, because I know the Xbox came out, a year and a half after the PlayStation 2?
Yeah, about a year later, yeah.
So, who knows if Sony was doing anything to counteract that price? It was already pretty low.
Yeah, I just didn't realize it was being sold for $299. It fully explains why they lost so much money on that thing. Because the PlayStation 2 came out at $299. The Australian price was like $750.
And it was also how much money they were losing with like OG Xbox Live. Like, that whole thing was set up within 2 years on essentially duct tape and baling wire, and I mean, it worked for the most part. You know,
I've got fond memories of OG Xbox Live, man.
Like, that's the reason why it can't be online, you know? It's because it was just, they had to replace everything for the 360.
I remember when my old man got broadband for the first time, and it was 2 meg broadband from Telewest in the UK. And we were one of the first groups of families that I knew that got it. And he's like, he just knocked on the bedroom door, and he's like, got broadband now? I was like, really? I was like, yeah. I was like, and then I think he was making lunch, and he came out of his office, and I pulled down my Xbox into the lounge, plugged it into the old CRT widescreen, and I've got like the headset on and everything. With my, do you remember the pack that I used to give it? It used to have Whacked, the demo mode with the voice changing box and all of that stuff. And I'm playing Mechasalt online, and it's working. And that day was the day I created my original gamer tag, Sikamikanico. And I've stuck with it ever since. Yep. And even he got involved. He was like, "Is this Mech Warrior?" I was like, "Yeah, it's kinda." It's man, I'd love a new Mech Assault. Daydreams. Yep. Have we got a Rumourmill this week?
We do. For the first time in a while, there is a Rumourmill.
So, what have we got?
All right. Now, a while back, we had talked, I mean, look, it's obviously no secret now. Sony had it in their recent financial thing, whatever. They're going to start pursuing more of their first-party games coming to PC. We had said a while back about games that had been planned to come to PC.
Which was Gravity Rush
and Last Guardian,
right?
Yep. So I just got told the other day, again, everything's grain of salt and whatever, but I just got told the other day about a couple of games that may be coming to PC sooner than most people would think. Like, I don't know if, like, one of these two games... Sorry?
Demon Souls?
Look, one of these games people are probably expecting to come to PC at some point. The other one less so. So I got told that Spider-Man will be coming to PC.
Cool.
And God of War. Now, God of War, I assume most people expect. I just got told that God of War could be sooner than people think. and ditto for Spider-Man. So I
Cool.
was like, surely Spider-Man's like, if Spider-Man happens, it'll be like 2021. They're like, oh, maybe not. It may sneak into 2020. But I would personally still stick with 2021 there. But like I said, all they said was could be sooner than people think. But,
Cool.
yeah. Now, I also then prodded a bit further and said, well, what about Miles Morales? And they were like, well, not sure on Miles.
Maybe in 6 to 9 months.
Yeah, maybe later on. I don't know. They just mentioned base.
69 months?
It was just
6 to 9 months.
Base Spider-Man and God of War.
You know what reference that is, John?
69 months?
Yeah.
No.
It's Madagascar 2, Escape to Africa.
Oh,
when the penguins were asking how long it'd take to when the zebra, I can't remember his name, was asking the penguins how long it'd take to repair their plane, their makeshift plane, and the penguins were like 6 to 9 months. 69 months? No, 6 to 9 months.
I have seen Madagascar too, but
I don't remember.
Clearly it made more of an impression on you than me.
Oh, I watched it recently, so it's still fresh in the brain.
That's an interesting rumor.
That's the rumor mill. So again, I don't think anyone would be surprised by God of War.
No.
Spider-Man maybe would raise some eyebrows, but my thing with both of these was that it could be that they're on PC a little bit sooner than people would think or expect. Cool. So whether that means by the end of the year, that'd be cool. There'd be a lot of people out there that would love to see how God of War looks on like a monster PC.
Yeah, definitely.
And maybe something I should add extra. With the Spider-Man, and I'd assume God of War, but I was told with Spider-Man directly, Sony is being a lot more hands-on with the PC port.
Yeah, because I heard the
Horizon
Zero Dawn port was awful.
Yeah, I heard that the Horizon... I wouldn't know, but I'd heard that the Horizon port wasn't the best.
Yeah.
And as a result, Sony is far more hands-on with the Spider-Man port. So, Insomniac are like amazing anyway, so I'd wager that a Spider-Man port would be good anyway, but...
I mean, if Insomniac did the PC port in-house for Sunset Overdrive, so I imagine Insomniac is also doing the PC port for Spider-Man. They didn't have Guerrilla do the PC port for Horizon, did they?
I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. But that could be what they meant by Sony are far more hands-on with the Spider-Man port, because Insomniac are probably doing it directly. Because I don't think there was any problems with the Sunset Overdrive PC port, was there?
No. Not like I recall. It might have been locked to 60 only, max, but...
I wouldn't call that a problem. I'm talking technical problems and stuff like that.
Do you know PC gamers at all?
I do.
60?
Psycho.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, that's all good and fun. So I guess that only really leaves us to dive into our... honestly, staggering batch of community questions today.
A lot.
I'm going to go out ahead and say that we're probably not going to do all of these, but we'll try and get
we'll try and do them all. But what we're going to have to do is control ourselves and
for the tangents.
Try and answer them
succinctly.
Yes, concisely, short, sharp, punchy. Is this happening? No. Next question. We'll see. Let's go. All right, we'll start. So
okay. Patrons?
We've got quite a few areas to do this from. So we'll start with the forum. Start with the Patreon. Okay. So Blast the Bass. He's asked, do you think the backlash to recent PlayStation announcements is bigger than the enthusiast bubble? Is it ultimately a big enough issue to push people away? No, it's not bigger than the enthusiast bubble at all.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't have even been heard in the non-enthusiast bubble.
No one, because there's nothing on the level of the Xbox One in 2013. There's just nothing on that level.
Yeah.
And Sony already had the meme game one long before any of this stuff. Like the PS5 memes started like a year ago. They're quite funny too.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's not a big enough issue to push people away. Like, it's going to push away maybe a handful of the hardcore gamers with a decent PC that were sort of on the fence or were looking at Xbox because of Game Pass. Like, I've seen a little bit of that on forums and Twitter that are like, I'll just get an Xbox and Game Pass. I don't even have to worry about buying games, whatever.
Yeah, if I were, I guess, semi-enthusiast or on the periphery, my mindset would be Sony doesn't seem to respect their previous games, consoles, software. I wouldn't be looking to buy a PlayStation 5 as my third-party box, as an example. It would be my exclusive box.
I stopped doing that a long, long time ago. That's a mistake I've learned from twice now. Just don't like. I don't know how many more times Sony needs to show you that your money isn't respected long term. I don't know how many times they need to tell you that. Just don't. Look, if you can only afford to buy one console, then fine. Get whatever it is that has the games you like. If you're the sort of person that can afford multiple consoles, don't buy multiplats on PlayStation. It's like if you care, like if you're, like, even if you never go back to an old game, like, because I find it weird, right? So PC gamers, one of the biggest things they harp on about is, it's like permanent backwards compatibility and it's forever and it's blah, 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 blah. But then a lot of those same people will dump on, who cares about backwards compatibility? No one uses it. Like, I like the fact that Microsoft is bringing that PC gaming kind of stuff to consoles, like the backwards compatibility. Where Sony just continued to demonstrate that they don't care. You spent money on our PS3, bad luck. You spent money on our PS4, bad luck. Like, we want you to buy our games again. And I mean, obviously, Nintendo takes that to a whole other level.
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Just makes me cross.
Yeah, I got that Mario Odyssey collection.
Of course you did.
And you know what? I didn't play Mario Sunshine back in the early 2000s when it came out on GameCube, but after spending about 10 minutes with it, I can see why it's the most hated 3D Mario. But that's for another time. Okay. Torn Raptor. Any idea if the expansion cards are only in 1 terabyte size, or do they have, or will they offer anything larger? They're 1 terabyte for now. I don't see a reason why we wouldn't get 2 and 3 terabyte ones later on.
Can you imagine a $500 8 terabyte expansion drive for the Xbox Series?
Look, I'm expecting these things to be expensive. I don't care what anyone says. Again, I'm talking from an Australian perspective here. Because like even the official Seagate 2 terabyte drive retailed for like $200 or more. So imagine what a proprietary 1 terabyte expansion card.
They already revealed, leaked the price of one expansion card a week or two ago, didn't they?
I don't know if
it was like $220 for 1 terabyte expansion card from Seagate.
Yeah,
for the Series S and X.
I don't know how real that was. I hope it's not, because that would mean like nearly 400 Australian. But anyway,
bad times.
So yeah, it'll only be 1 terabyte for now. I am 99.999% sure they will do larger variations later.
Yeah, like Gen.
If you're concerned about the pricing for those expansion drives, if you look up the similar cost of a high performance NVMe PCIe Gen 4 SSD, you're probably looking around the same price, maybe even a little less, because it doesn't have the Xbox logo on it. But I wouldn't expect them to get cheaper anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mort asks, which one of Series S and X do you think Microsoft will push the hardest in marketing? They have both the power and the price, just like Phil said, so could they perhaps do both? We kind of covered this. Like I was saying that I was a bit worried that they may push the S when they shouldn't. Because, I don't know, to be honest. I'm worried they'll push the S, and I don't think they should. I think they should push the X because it's the hardcore that buy early. And the thing is, you use those hardcore to sell to the more casuals and say, hey, you can get a new Xbox 2 and it's only $300. And you can play all these games with me as well. Like, use the hardcore to sell to everyone else. That's how that works. Like, in my circle of family and friends, people call me and text me, what should I get? Like, that's how that works.
Yeah.
You know, and even in the 360 generation, like, I used to work in retail back then, and I used to sell PS3s to people. You know why? Because of the free online. It's like, hey man, you're getting this cheap Blu-ray player. You don't have to pay to play online. Why not just get a PS3? Even though I was staunchly a 360 guy, like, it was just obvious. And that's part of... let's not get into the gold discussion, because that's a whole separate
Still
podcast.
wait and see on that front.
But yeah, they could do both. Mort, they could. I think they should lead with the X. I'm hoping they lead with the X, but we'll find out soon. Sowing Shade. Special Ed predicted a year-long PlayStation exclusivity deal for Starfield, which is one of my most anticipated upcoming titles, second only to Dragon Age, and that it would be announced during the most recent event. Obviously, no such announcement took place, but that doesn't mean it couldn't happen in the future. Is this something I should be prepared for, or was this merely an incorrect guess? Okay, so I posted in our forum a prediction of what was going to happen in the Sony show. Half of it was right, half of it was wrong. That doesn't mean the stuff I got wrong won't happen at some point. Because it was fairly mundane stuff. Like, I said we'd get a sneak peek of the UI, which we didn't, but we're going to. I said Uncharted 5 would get teased. It didn't. But I'm sure a new Uncharted game will happen at some point. I said that God of War 2 would be teased. That happened. I said Final Fantasy XVI would be there and be exclusive. That happened. I said Starfield would be there and would have a 1-year exclusive. Now, while that was a prediction post, there may be a little bit of rumour to that one as well. I don't know what Starfield is.
That doesn't make sense to me.
I actually
Bethesda...
don't know what Starfield is outside of, I think, a new game from Bethesda.
Yep. It's meant to be their next generation new IP, RPG, think their Mass Effect, right?
Okay. I don't know. I honestly don't know what
style.
It is.
I mean, I really hope not, because, like, I want to play that too. And if it's just been, let's be honest, I hate the phrase, money-hatted by Sony as a publisher, like, Bethesda doesn't need that money. Like, get out of here with this nonsense. They've already done it with Deathloop, which looks pretty cool.
So, I don't know, maybe they do need it.
That's so gross.
Yeah, I know.
Ugh. Never mind. What are you going to do?
The funny thing, so far, I'm just lucky that I don't really care about any of the games that are being money-hatted. Having said that, I still worry about Street Fighter, but we'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go to the forum. Let's see how this goes. Hammer24. Microsoft Flight Sim on Series, when? That's all I want to know. We've talked about this, Hammer. We don't know when it's happening. We think it should have been launch, but I'd be surprised if it... Like, it'll probably be 2021 is my assumption.
I would guess around February time, if I was a betting man.
2021. Seems to be a safe bet.
Yep.
Okay. The Scarecrow 101. Part question to ask for your opinion. With Sony's first-party releases over the next 2 years being sequels to established IP, are they pushing more to continuing established success rather than allowing the creative freedom to experiment more, e.g. Days Gone or Ghost of Tsushima? So if I can, a second question. What news or rumour did you sit on longest before spilling the beans? All the best wishes to Sick on the renovations. Okay, so to the first question, I don't see why Sony wouldn't allow creative freedom. Like, it's a balancing act.
They always have.
Yeah, like, it's a balancing act. They allowed Guerrilla to create Horizon. It was a success, so of course it's going to get a sequel. But does that mean Guerrilla becomes a Horizon studio? No. We didn't get Days Gone till much later. Like, there's no reason to believe that, I'm sure Naughty Dog, right now, are probably working on a new IP. Like, because then they said they're not doing Uncharted anymore. Wasn't there rumours of a separate studio being built specifically for Uncharted? Last of Us 2, I think, is over. So Naughty Dog would naturally now be working on a new IP.
Yeah.
Willing to bet it's probably third person, maybe an over-the-shoulder perspective, possibly. I'm not sure, but we'll find out. Now the second question: what rumor did you? I don't know if that's me specifically. What rumor did you sit on longest before spilling the beans? Still sitting on it. How many months and counting? It's probably been 6 months and more and counting, and I'm still sitting on it. And I keep asking about it, and I'm not allowed to say it. And it's got nothing to do with Xbox. It's got to do with PlayStation. And I've been sitting on it for a long, long time.
Yeah, it's fun keeping secrets.
Yeah. So, I don't know. At the moment, it's about 6 months and counting. Maybe more. Yeah. So, I've had to sit on stuff for a long, long time. And who knows? I don't know. I can't speak for Figments or Sick. Maybe they've been sitting on stuff for a long time too. I don't know. Anything? No? We're not going to say? Okay.
Not I'm allowed to say.
Okay.
No one talks to me about anything, so.
Yeah, for good reason. Okay.
Yeah, probably.
Sadistic Magician. What are your thoughts on demos betas? Would there be any merit in having, say, a flight sim demo with limited planes, options, and maybe limited area available on release of the new consoles if it was possible? It could really show what the system can do graphically and really push the power of the console and whet people's appetite for the full game. I like that he spelled wet correctly.
I was literally just thinking the same thing, dude. I was literally like, good use of the word English.
As an Australian and a Brit, we really appreciate when people use English properly. I understand Americans don't have that same level of respect for the language, but I really like when people spell... Like, when people say wrapped, I'm wrapped about something, and they use rap as in rapping, not R-A-P-T. Like...
That would make... Yeah. Equally, when they type loose... when they mean lose. Yes. And the worst one I've seen that's quite prevalent is when they mean to wreak havoc, but they type wreck as in wrecked your car.
Oh, and there's others like all intensive purposes. No, it's all intents and purposes. Anyway, that's we'll have a grammar podcast
instead of should have. Anyway, right.
We'll have a grammar and spelling podcast another time. But I really like that he pronounced wet. He spelt wet correctly. Whet people's appetite for the full game. I assume now Halo is delayed. They will have the beta next year, which I think will be cool. I'm probably a bit old school in my thinking, but I feel like demos could be a way of building excitement for big titles like Forza, Hellblade, etc. in the lead up to release and maybe make the wait a bit more bearable. Love the show and community. Keep up the good work, fellas. I think demos and betas are good. I mean, their most successful generation, which was the Xbox 360 generation, they flooded us with demos and betas. Like, you know, the whole Xbox Live Arcade program. Every game had a demo you could try and then just click a button to buy it. It was a huge success. You know, the flight sim example. Isn't that what Forza Apex is, basically?
Yes.
I don't know. I never played it.
I have a slightly different opinion here. I don't know. I think betas are primarily basically a marketing tool to get you interested in the game.
Yeah.
And I get what you're going for here is if something's not ready, release a little something to tide some folks over. I don't think it's going to happen. I also still don't think that because of the delay of Halo Infinite that we're going to see a big wide-scale multiplayer beta.
I think
that they are heads down getting their ducks in a row, and doing a beta on that scale across PC and Xbox is just a big headache that they'd rather not have. If I was
delayed for a full year, it wouldn't be a problem.
I don't think they'll delay for a full year.
I think they should.
You might think they should. I don't think they will.
Well, then they're silly billies.
Oh, we'll see. But yeah, I get it. You're right. It does build up excitement, and I think Nick's example of the old school way of the arcade system working on 360 was probably my favourite implementation of it, because you downloaded the full game. and it put a timer on it, or it gave you a couple of levels, and then said, okay, if you want to continue, and you knew at that point, I'm enjoying this. Bye, and it was done, and you could just carry on while you were still in the game.
It was almost like a console equivalent of shareware.
Yeah. Very true. It was
genius. Now, don't get me wrong, devs were public about how annoying it was. It was extra work for devs. But on the flip side, their game would generally sell more.
Yeah. There was a reason that it was 360 was associated with that indie renaissance, because I think of functionality like that.
I understand the extra work argument, but again, from a consumer perspective, it was genius. I thought it was great. Okay, Malik. Hello, guys. Do you think that the Coalition and 343 can split into 2 teams and work on different IPs? If so, when? If not, why? 2, in my opinion, 3 studios that have a lot of potential with a big budget and time are Hello Games, Game Labs, IO Interactive, Asobo, and Don't Nod. Xbox should definitely look into an acquisition of these. I like this question because I have been saying this for years. Microsoft have so many gigantic studios. There is no reason they couldn't split some of them off and create a smaller sub-studio that does something else.
You also have to look at it, though, as in, they're giant studios, but those studios have created a very, very cohesive culture over the years. I'm pretty sure 343 and the Coalition don't have as much churn in developers as other studios do. And because of that, people stay there long enough to have a specific studio culture. And breaking up those studios just to, have more studios doesn't really seem like a good idea.
There's a couple of points I would make on the whole splitting studios thing. Is one, 343 is massive, but it's massive because it also contains the publishing team, the media team that does the stuff like the TV show, the toys, the comics. It's got all of that element to it, full-time employees that work in the building, and then you've got the game development team. Halo is huge and a massive undertaking every time because of its feature set, because over the years we now demand Forge, Theatre, multiplayer, BTB, whatever the new bells and whistles are, and a fully fledged monster campaign. You think about what you get in a package from the average video game release nowadays. Let's say from Sony, you'll get a $60 campaign for 10 to 20 hours and it's done, right? It's almost like twice the amount of game here for the same amount of money. So I get the premise, but I don't think the teams are as big as you might think they are in order to split them. But I think they probably already have something in-house, both teams, Coalition and 343, which is very similar to how Rare does it, is in they have an incubation team, which is a small set of designers that build the core idea, and then when it gets greenlit, it goes to be built, and they might direct that project, and then the next incubation team will start on the next, and so on. And they've often have a couple of those going. I get the idea that Xbox fans, I don't like Microsoft's approach of you are the Halo developer, you are the Gears developer, you are the Forza developer, welcome to the rest of your prison sentence, chain you to the desk, pump out these games. I think that in a way it restricts that creativity that these people come into this industry to work on. But if you've got a job at 343, you're working at Halo. If you go and work at 1010, you're going to be working on Forza. So swings and roundabouts, but I think you probably find that they already have a lot of these incubation teams in-house, but you're never going to get a full cut down the middle. You guys are working on Gears, you guys are working on something new.
I don't think they need to be cut down the middle, even if you create a little, as we've seen, Grounded was 12 people. I'm not saying you have to split off 343 to create another AAA studio, but what if you could split off a small portion of 343 to make other stuff within Halo? Even if it has to be Halo, like the Halo Mega Bloks game, or a Halo
Flood horror game.
I don't know, or whatever. Like Mojang has a whole bunch of studios around the world. There's other ways to do it, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I think they should, but maybe it's not feasible. In terms of other studios, we've talked about acquisitions plenty. Asobo is like a no-brainer.
He wrote 3, but he put 5.
Yeah, I know. I'd be looking at. I mean, Don't Nod's not bad because they fit the Game Pass model down to the ground. I would look at Housemarque myself personally. That's just a selfish one because I love Housemarque's games. I like those twin stick arcade games that they make. I know Returnal is not one of those things. Returnal is one of their first cracks at a bigger budget kind of third person over the shoulder, but you know, Returnal actually looks a lot like Recall to me, which is a good thing. I love Recall. So I will probably check Returnal out. But Housemarque is a studio I would love for Microsoft to go for. They won't, but I'd love for them to.
Yeah. I don't think necessarily they're going to go for any of these. They've got a partnership with Asobo for 10 years on Flight Sim.
Okay.
I imagine they've probably got some form of written language in their master services agreement with that company for first heads up and stuff like that when it comes to acquisitions. And we have heard rumours recently that they are back in acquiring mode because they know in order for Game Pass to reach that critical mass market penetration, it's all about content. Lots of it, high quality, consistent, capturing the zeitgeist, and they know they've got to do it. And you've got to spend money to get to that point. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Well, speaking of Game Pass, the next question is from the XboxEra, who is the person that Phil replied to on the forum.
True. You're famous now. I might have to give him a custom title for that, actually.
Yeah.
Now I think.
Yeah, maybe we should. Hey, I have questions, please. With MS going all in on Game Pass, could we see other platforms being integrated like TVs? Game Pass included in TV offerings, like, for example, buying a Samsung and get a Game Pass integrated in the TV offered with an xCloud dongle or stick and a controller to play directly on TV. Once the Xbox Series X blades are ready, maybe. It is an offer I'm really deeply interested in. MS have a big opportunity here and can really expand his reach beyond. Second question, can we expect big Japanese games coming to Game Pass, like Elden Ring or Tales of Arise? Elden Ring can piss off. Do you have any ideas about Microsoft's view on studios acquisitions, which potential ones? Thank you for your time. Okay, so we already know they're going to put probably an xCloud or Game Pass app on Samsung TVs. Yes, I think they should. I think that's not a big reason, but a reason why Mixer died in the ass. Like there's no Mixer app on any of my TVs. It's not on Google. Like it wasn't even on my Shield. I was looking for a Mixer app on Shield and it wasn't there. Like Mixer was nowhere, and then they're wondering why it died. Like you couldn't download it anywhere. And that's on top of all the other issues that Mixer was having. But that's for another time. Yes, they don't need an xCloud stick. Like, it's all the internet. So as long as you've got the app, like every TV now connects to the internet. So all they need to do is put an xCloud app on your TV, and most TVs have Bluetooth these days. Yeah,
it's worth mentioning that right now, if you have a Fire Stick, you can sideload the Game Pass SDK, or APK rather, from Android, and play xCloud Bluetooth your pad to your Fire Stick, play xCloud on your main big screen TV via that.
Should that not be possible on a Shield as well?
Should be possible on anything that is Android based, I would argue.
Yeah, because the Shield is Android, so theoretically I should be able to get the Game Pass app on it.
Correct.
Theoretically.
Yeah. Someone's probably done it.
I don't know how to do that sort of stuff myself, but anyway. Japanese games coming to Game Pass. Well, I mean, don't we already kind of have that?
Yeah, they're doing that right now.
The Kingdom Hearts games came, Final Fantasy 15 came, Yakuza. I'm sure that'll keep going. Elden Ring won't. I don't even want Elden Ring to release anymore. I hope that game gets cancelled. Tales of Arise.
Don't do that. I mean, game.
We spoke about acquisitions. So yeah, we covered acquisitions. Tales of Arise, I don't know. A lot of these games probably won't ever launch on Game Pass. They come later. Although I think Microsoft should be looking at money having some day one Game Pass launches.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. That's not really a question. Here we go. Ruthwick Row. Now that Game Pass is becoming the forefront of Xbox's model moving forward, do you think their first-party games shall start being designed with Game Pass in mind, or will they continue to be whatever games they shall be, but just put on Game Pass at the end of the day without being moulded by it to a significant degree? This was actually one of the biggest questions I had in mind for Phil, if y'all ever get him on. It's not meant to suggest any concern or anything, just wanted to hear whether Game Pass was just a distribution strategy or something more core to the games made moving forward. Well, I mean, there's obviously been a lot of talk around that, whether now the Game Pass is a thing, that means every game's going to be games as a service, full of microtransactions. I don't know. I mean, I think it will affect some games to a degree. It has to. I also think it may not necessarily change, for example. Like, okay, so here's a story. I don't know if I've told this story on the podcast before. I registered for ID at Xbox many years ago. I was in touch with Chris Charla directly through NeoGAF, and he got me to register for ID at Xbox because I told him I had a cool game idea. He goes, yep, pitch it, blah, blah, blah. I put together a design document, the whole bit, registered for ID at Xbox, submitted the design document. They liked it. They said, have you got a demo to show us? I was like, nope, because I'm not a developer. So I had nothing. So that game is just an idea sitting somewhere in a document. Now, the reason I bring this story up, now this game, this idea for this game existed long before Game Pass was a thing. And yet this game that I pitched was episodic. It was mission-based and episode-based. And part of my pitch document was you could release these episodes later and do it all piecemeal. That was the pitch. Now, I had that idea long before Game Pass was a thing. So it's not like Game Pass is going to suddenly go, oh, everything should be episodic and everything should have microtransactions. Some people have these ideas before Game Pass. Like we said earlier, Rise had microtransactions in it back in 2013. Game Pass wasn't a thing in 2013.
It was just trying to ape the mobile world.
DLC has been around since the OG Xbox. Halo 2 had downloadable content on the OG Xbox. Like, Game Pass has not suddenly made all these things appear. I understand. Yeah. So it's going to be different. So Game Pass may change and influence some games that are currently in development. But then some of that stuff might already be there, and it's just pure coincidence that it looks like it fits the Game Pass model. I don't think there's some mandate behind the scenes at Microsoft where they're telling everyone, no, now that Game Pass is a thing, we need constant engagement, so you've got to make sure that your game keeps people engaged forever. Like, yeah. I don't think that's a thing.
Yeah, I think if anything, Game Pass is going to allow, and I think we've already seen evidence of that, of smaller, more concise, like, do you remember the B tier type games?
Like Recall?
Like, not AAA, but like 360 gen. There was one that I really loved. I think it was a Jason and the Argonauts RPG action game. It was nothing special, but it was just fun. And I played through it in a weekend.
Well, to me, that's something like
really
Recall.
Good time. Yeah, and it's like, I think you're going to see more of that, and I think Microsoft are going to produce more of that than they are now. And I think they're probably not going to be producing the same level of these AAA monsters of single player, like 20 hours and you're done, and it wins a bunch of awards. I don't think they're ever going to get to that point. They've got like one studio that they're going to go and try and do that with, but even then, I think what the creatives at the initiative are coming up with is not, and I'm sorry to disappoint you folks, is not what you guys think it's going to be.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
It is not going to be your Last of Us equivalent for Xbox. It's going to be something that's Xbox. It's going to be what Xbox do best.
Yeah,
take that as you will.
Like I said, I think they're still going to make a couple of those Sony games, but it's not going to be a lot. Like, if you want that, go get a PlayStation, man. Go get a PlayStation and play them, because there's plenty of them on there.
Yeah, like, very true.
That's where you got to go. It is what it is. Like it or lump it. You know, you don't sit there. I mean, I don't see anyone telling Nintendo off for not making third-person over-the-shoulder shooters. Why is that? Funny
Very
that
true.
No one's demanding that of Nintendo. They know what Nintendo does. They either like it or they don't, and they go get a Nintendo console if they do.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't understand the controversy. I don't understand the whining. I don't understand. For me, it's not so much the type of game from Xbox. It's the quality of the game, more so than the type. I'm kind of over the whole open world, third person, blah, 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 blah. How many times are you going to do that? Like, I'm not fussed. For me, it's the quality, you know. Crackdown needed some more polish. Recore needed some more polish. Quantum Break, I don't know, it was just boring. You know, like, for me, it's more giving them the time and the budget to make whatever game it is, even if it's a turn-based strategy game like Tactics. Like, as long as they get the time and budget they need to make the game genuinely great, I don't care what kind of game it is. Just as long as it's good. If I want my third-person over-the-shoulder slow walk and talk fix, I'll boot up my PlayStation and I'll play The Last of Us 2, which I still haven't played, by the way. I was waiting for the PS5 to play that. If I want that fix, I'll boot up my PlayStation for it. If I feel like playing Mario or Zelda or Metroid or whatever, I'll boot up my Switch. Like, I don't know, like, you should know by now what you're going to get from all of them. If you don't, then what are you doing? You should know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, next question.
Good call.
By the next question, I hope I pronounce this. Opachi. Opachi? I think it's Opachi. Hello, XboxEra. First of all, thank you for this amazing forum, and I hope every listener will check it out. Us too. Now to my question. We all know Xbox Game Studios is busy at preparing some amazing games. I would like to hear your opinion on when do you expect a substantial update on a game currently in development, and which one? Forza Motorsport would be my guess. What we see next, or maybe an update on Hellblade 2 or Everwild. Ninja Theory is doing some mocap. It's okay. So there has to be something in the near future. And then there is Halo Infinite, which could potentially have a comeback with some amazing graphics. The thing is, I don't agree that Xbox needs so much more games. The only thing they need to do is show the graphical power on upcoming games. Gamers take quality over quantity, so show exactly that. Love you in the community. We kind of sort of touched on that just then. I just said, make the games great. Make them the best versions of what they are, rather than trying to make them something else. Now, in terms of updates on new games, I reckon you're right on Forza, because as I've said a million times, Turn 10 are like guns. Like, they just
pump it out.
Whatever you need, they do it. Like, they get it done, and they get it done fast. So I wouldn't be... So of all the games that have been announced as coming for 2021 or later, I would put money on Forza being first. Myself. Hellblade 2 and Everwild. I think Everwild maybe now things have changed with Everwild, like, because they announced that they've ditched Xbox One, which could change what that game becomes, maybe, and the scope of it. And I mean, even visually, that more recent trailer looked on another level to the original reveal trailer. Yeah, like, that game is just... If that's not going to be one of the best looking games of all time at the time it comes out, then I'll be surprised. That just looks incredible. Hellblade 2, yeah, it is kind of strange that we've heard nothing on Hellblade 2 since that reveal trailer.
It'll make a splash when it lands.
I wonder if shifting to Unreal Engine 5 is affecting things, potentially. But yeah, Ninja Theory tweeted out recently that they're back in their mocap studio doing stuff. So hopefully that's pushing things along. Because I know COVID was affecting all of that. It was affecting mocap everywhere. Because you couldn't be around people. So it's good that that's all back. But yeah, I mean, like we said, quality over quantity. I mean, look, there is going to be a quantity factor to it. Game Pass needs content constantly. It does. Like, that's part of the reason they bought so many studios. That's also part of the reason they've supported, Money had supported a lot of these indies and are putting them straight into Game Pass, because it's just content. So it's a balancing act. I think the focus should be the stuff coming out of first party quality, and then approaching all those third parties quantity, because their quality is up to them. Microsoft has no control over that. So, let's say, I don't know, let's say something like Tunic.
Which I really love the look of, by the way.
Yeah,
Tunic
I played it, and it's amazing. I played it a couple of years ago, and it is Zelda on Xbox. And instead of using Link, you're using a little fox. Stunning game. Absolutely gorgeous. And it's really just Zelda. Nice. Like, as soon as I saw Link's Awakening was announced, my heart bled for the Tunic developer. My heart absolutely bled for him, because Link's Awakening was kind of Nintendo cutting his lunch. And I love Link's Awakening. It's such a good game. But Tunic, like I said, I played it a demo build back at PAX Australia a couple of years ago. Oh, God, I can't wait for that game. It's so good. Anyone who wants a Zelda game on Xbox, Tunic's it. Tunic is your Zelda
I'm really looking forward to it.
So good. So yeah, I hope we cover that question. Bigsy, hi all. First off, congratulations on the new Halo podcast being launched. Oh my God, I can't believe we didn't even talk about the Halo podcast.
We should probably talk about the Halo podcast.
Had me at Halo. That was my title.
I was going to use this question as I saw it coming up. So before we answer the question, for any mainstay podcast listeners that haven't been paying attention, the team that work with us on the XboxEra community site and forums have launched a new Halo podcast, which is a big thing to try and do, considering there are a lot of long-standing, really great, detailed Halo podcasts that have been going for years. But they've done it. Episode 1 is available now. It's called You Had Me at Halo. And there's a longer story here to tell, but I'll try and do this succinctly in the effort of time, because we've got a lot of questions. But I want to give a really, really massive shout out to one of our community members who was going to be doing their own podcast themselves, and they were going to call it this. Now, we didn't know that. They didn't know that we were going to do it. And when we announced it and we dropped our trailer, they reached out and they were really, really decent about it. I'm not going to say who it is, just in case they don't want me to. But they have our appreciation and our gratitude for being really, really cool about it. It came very close to us. When we read the message, we were all like, we'll just change the name rather than do that, because he was so upfront about it. But yeah, it's out there. It's really good fun to listen to, run by a bunch of the team that are really into their Halo. I may make an appearance at some point if they do it in a decent time zone.
Need to check out the stuff.
Yeah, but the plan will be for them to run the You Had Me at Halo podcast, alternating between our bi-weekly podcast. So you'll get an XboxEra themed podcast every week, hopefully.
So that's our loophole. That's our Phil's loophole.
That's our loophole. Yeah.
So yeah, congratulations on the Halo podcast being launched. I'd listened to it and think it has gotten off to a good start. My question is in regards to Jeff Grubb's tweet about hearing that Microsoft is spending or about to spend a lot of money that is not an acquisition. Do you think it is for major games launching into Game Pass, or a number of games from a publisher coming to Game Pass, or something different entirely? I don't know, honestly. That money could have also been spent. Maybe that's the EA Play thing.
Yeah, I thought it was the EA Play thing.
It could be that. That couldn't have been cheap to do. Like, it may seem like something, EA Play, whatever. That still would have cost Microsoft a lot of money to just throw EA Play straight into... Because EA is not going to just be like, hey, we're just going to give up EA Play. Whatever Microsoft is getting for Game Pass Ultimate, they're going to have to now give a cut of that to EA. So Microsoft are now losing a bit more money on Game Pass Ultimate. So maybe that's where that money is, not necessarily, hey, is there more stuff? Don't know. If you're asking if we've heard something, no. My guess would be that money may have been EA Play money. But I don't know. We'll probably find out in the next, 2 months?
Yeah, definitely.
Vinny13, here's my question. You can only change one thing about Microsoft's console launch strategy so far. What would you choose and why?
Release it now so I can get it.
Yeah. Only one? I've got two big ones, and I'm struggling to decide between the one. If I'm going to keep it to the one that I think... Okay, so if I'm only going to pick one, my one is drop the multiplayer paywall. That should have already been announced. It should have been announced with the S. Xbox Series S, $299. Guess what? Multiplayer is free. This is your new Fortnite box. Bang.
Yeah, I have to agree. That is the one thing that they should have done, and hopefully still will do.
Yep.
But in the effort to be contrarian, I'll pick something different. I would say that they should have been super aggressive with their pricing and brought the Series X down to $399.
That was the other one. I was going to say get rid of the S and make the X $399, but yeah.
Yeah, but then there would be no point to have the S in the equation at all. But yeah, I think they're doing a pretty good job. I guess outside of that, have some bloody games ready for the damn thing.
Yeah.
Had enough of Microsoft relying on third parties, but whatever. What about you, Figments?
Didn't I already say it? Jokingly, but I did say
release it now. Yeah.
Release it now. Yeah.
Well, it was probably ready to.
Yeah.
If it's ready, damn it, just give it to me.
I know. We are now in September with the original release date. God, that would have been nice. And I took these 2 weeks off as well. I could have been playing on a Series X, Rocket League, even though that's all I play. And Rocket League got an awesome new update, cross progression. Woo! Okay.
Lovely.
Tavish Hill. What will it take for MS to flip the narrative with cross-gen... What? Oh, with regards to cross-gen first-party games, Fable, Forza, Everwild, Flight Sim, Avowed are all next-gen only as far as I know. Does Microsoft deserve some credit for that in light of Sony's about-face? We kind of discussed this
we touched on that. But in terms of flipping the narrative, it will take consistent, great games. And even then, it will
because the thing is, consistent great games aren't enough. You can have consistent great games, but if the other players are also giving out consistent great games, then there's no reason to flip the narrative. So the only way to make it work is if Microsoft is releasing consistently great games back to back to back, and Sony is screwing the pooch. That's about it.
Yeah,
there's no other way.
We've said this a million times. It takes something huge to swing momentum and flip a narrative, and I don't see anything huge coming. Guess what? A $299 or $399 Series X along with free multiplayer might have, though. But so yeah.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Just picture that. If they announced $399 Xbox Series X and you get a disc drive, the most powerful console of next generation,
free multiplayer.
Meanwhile, the PlayStation 5 is also $399 and it's performs like a piece of crap, and and it doesn't have a disc drive for another thing.
Yeah, and you're still paying for multiplayer where you don't on Xbox. Yeah. That would have been huge, but I decided not to go for it.
Yeah, I think that's the last of our questions on the forum.
Is it?
Yep. So I think just hopping across into the Twitterverse.
Okay.
And in the effort of time, let's see if we can nip this in the bud. In under 2 hours.
Try and be quick with them.
So I'll shout them out if you want.
I've got them in front of me.
You got to. I'll have at it then, sir.
The first one's not really a question.
I can answer it. No,
I was about to say I wouldn't know the answer. Neil, Mr. X Bob just says my community question is what was that video made for you guys? If not, where is it from? Now this comes from our tweet about community questions on Twitter.
Yeah. That video is a slightly edited piece that I managed to sneak off of Microsoft's website.
Okay.
And it's cool, and I'm going to use it soon in a little video.
Yeah, it's good.
You'll see.
Okay, next question. Game Positive. Do you think it's likely that due to 343 being able to rearrange its build to launch with its deadline extension, we get a Halo 5 multiplayer beta? I assume he means
Halo Infinite.
It's shortly after Series X launch. If so, could a beta be the killer app? We kind of talked about this. And in the interest of needing to get through this, we'll have to move on. Because we basically covered it. I think they should.
But no.
They haven't announced anything. But yeah, I think it'd be a good idea. Ian Glenn. Any chance we get an announcement of launch lineup for Xbox? I mean, we kind of have.
You've already gotten it.
That's what I thought.
So you'll get something official from Microsoft.
Oh yeah, maybe something more official.
You'll get something official.
Chris at Toph2. With launch and 2021 seeming kind of quiet from Xbox Game Studios and with the third-party timed exclusives on Sony's side, what do you guys think Microsoft should do to fill out the library in the next 12 months or so? Splash on their own set of timed exclusives day one Game Pass splurge. Well, they have done that.
They have.
The Medium and Scorn and The Ascent and
Falconeer,
and they do have their own. They're just not. Again, because you see Final Fantasy and you see
Deathloop,
like just Sony's ones seem to be from the bigger name studios and bigger name games. Microsoft's still done it. It's just been with
smaller studios.
I guess lesser known's not the right phrase to use, but I can't think of a better one right now. But they've still got exclusive stuff there.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. Stephen Woodsy75. Do you think Xbox would say base Xbox First Party games will be $60? Again, we talked about this before. If they are upping the price, we think they will up the price. It'd be cool if they don't. But the irony is that they're the ones that probably have more reason to up the price because they want people on Game Pass. So it's like, hey, if you don't want to pay $70 for games, sub to Game Pass. I don't know. Yeah. To me, it makes more sense for Microsoft to up the price because of Game Pass. But if they don't, awesome. Good on them because they're being the more consumer friendly. Like, they haven't upped the price and they have Game Pass as well.
Yeah.
I think they will, but if they are, they're clearly holding that card very close to their chest and saving it for later.
Yeah.
Okay, at T-Trex, or a cowboy in Sweden. What? Sushi or blue cheese for adding refinement to an evening spent with 5 of your mates playing Xbox? Neither. McDonald's. Next question. Matsy, or Matt SY, I don't know. Have you guys heard of the studio called Build a Rocket Boy, led by Leslie Benzies? The upcoming Rockstar-like studio. Definitely had potential and Xbox should look into them. Do you think Xbox will ever consider getting a superhero exclusive? I haven't heard of Leslie's studio. I heard he was doing his own thing after leaving Rockstar. But, I mean, you can't just assume that because he's starting his own studio, it's going to be another Rockstar.
Yeah.
That's the thing, you know.
It takes a long time to get
you don't know how
team together.
Yeah, and you never know how formulas work and how people work together. It's you just don't know. It's something that you can't predict. You know, obviously Microsoft are trying that now with the initiative. Do you think they'll consider a superhero exclusive? I don't think so. Everything Microsoft says seems to indicate that that's not going to be the case.
Yeah.
Okay, this is actually the last question.
Drum roll.
Believe it or not. Omar Habibaleh.
We've covered the first part.
Sorry?
We've covered this first part. What do we think Jeff Grubb meant when he said Microsoft?
What do you think Jeff Grubb meant? Oh, yeah, okay. What do you think Jeff Grubb meant when he said Microsoft is spending a lot of money? Another is which Japanese or Asian studio would be the most reasonable for Xbox to acquire? Well, the Jeff Grubb thing we literally just talked about, so sorry. Japanese
most reasonable would be Mistwalker.
Yeah, I still don't think they're going to do a Japanese studio.
I don't think so either, but I think if they wanted to get a fully made studio, reasonable would probably be no, I can't remember. It wouldn't be From Software because From Software is too big, too well known, too recognized, and they put out a lot of really too good games. So
and they're already owned.
Yeah, their price would be high. Bandai Namco is not going to get rid of that. So I think if they wanted a fully made studio, I can't think of one off the top of my head. But if they wanted one to build up, they could acquire the Mistwalker and the Mistwalker name.
Yeah.
Because they already have a history with that studio with Lost Odyssey
as well.
Yeah.
I'm actually Googling this as we speak. Okay, so here's one out of left field for me. There was a development studio which has since changed names. That development studio used to be called Aki or AKI, that made those amazing wrestling games on Nintendo 64. And then they made Def Jam Vendetta and Def Jam Fight for New York. They are now called Sin Sophia. That's who I want Microsoft to buy. That way, I can get good wrestling games again. Because wrestling games have not been good since...
Assuming if they're acquired, they want to make a wrestling game.
I'm going to make it happen.
Are you?
Okay.
Yep.
You're going to personally go to the studio and say, hey, make a wrestling game.
I have a direct line to Phil Spencer. And I
No, you don't. No, you don't.
What? I do.
No. Do you think you can make him do things? I don't think so.
Hey, I brought back the worst controller in history. If I can bring back the worst controller in history, then I can make sure
nothing. You can't even bring back Power Stone, your beloved video game. Don't even tell me you can do something.
Bring back the ugliest controller in history, then I can get Sin Sophia purchased by Microsoft to bring me good wrestling games.
Yeah, no, you can't. You can barely even get Power Stone to be made. Yeah. So
don't worry, I'll get Power Stone back. Don't worry.
Don't worry, wrestling fans.
I work a full-time job. I'm also helping run XboxEra. I have a lot on my plate. So doing all these other things takes a little bit longer, okay? So you're going to have to give me that kind of time. I'll get Power Stone back. I'll get Maximo.
Don't worry, guys. He's on it.
I'll get all these things back, but I'm only one man, okay? I'm in Australia. I've got spiders out there trying to get in. I got to protect my family from them. I've got a lot of things on my plate, okay? So
you have my sympathy, bro.
Getting Microsoft to buy studios isn't the highest priority on my list, but I'm working on it, okay?
Do you know what the highest priority on my list is?
What?
You'll like this. Saying thank you to all of our patrons.
Yes.
Whilst you tier 1s rock, I want to give a big shout out to our tier 2 and tier 3 patrons, the real MVPs, namely the Scarecrow 121, Torn Raptor, Shadowgasm, Sowing Shade, and of course Blast the Bass.
Thank you all for your support.
All awesome, really appreciated.
Yep.
And I guess
with that,
on that note, we can wrap this podcast up, just easing in over the 2-hour mark.
About 2 hours.
Lots of discussion, lots of community questions. We're really going to have to
we're going to have to sort something out.
Next time, I think it's a good idea to start getting everyone to make questions, and then we pick the 5 or 6 best ones to answer.
We're going to sort something out because
there's too many of you now, all right?
90% of our time is now spent answering questions, and that's just going to be 100% of our time within 3 months. So
I love it. I
love all the feedback. I love all the attention we're getting from you guys, and it's really cool to see everyone participating. But there's too many. Now there's too much. It's too much.
I love it. Bring it on. I say. So we'll look to drop this episode out this weekend. I do know we've had some shenanigans going on from a recording perspective, so Lord knows what form it's going to take. But
we'll find a way to make this work better in the future.
There's always a way, baby. There's always a way. But
if we have to go back to Discord, come hell or high water, then we're going to have to do it.
We'll find something. We'll find something. Yeah. Skype is not holding up nowadays.
Yeah, it's not. It's giving us a lot of problems, isn't it?
It is. So we'll figure something out. But on that note, massive thank you to our community, to our patrons, to everybody that's just been awesome over the last couple of weeks. It's been great seeing the discussion. As always, if you're a first-time listener to this podcast, welcome. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, ring the bell on YouTube if you're watching us that way, or follow us on Spotify or your platform of choice.
Follow us on our socials.
follow us on Twitter, and just basically show us as much love and affection as you possibly can through the medium of clicks, hearts, thumbs up, etc. And on that note, we'll see you next time.
Ciao for now.
Catch you later.
See you, everybody.